Some Perspectives of the Savitri Upakhyana by R.Y. Deshpande. Take, for instance, Ramesh Chandra Dutt's rendering of the Savitri tale. By way of example, let us compare the passage of the original with the verses of Dutt's pertaining to Narad's prophecy of Satyavan's death. Whence comes she? So Narad questioned. Whither was Savitri led? Wherefore to a happy husband had Savitri not been wed? Nay, to choose her lord and husband. So the virtuous monarch said, Fair Savitri long had wandered, and in holy earths stayed. Maiden, speak unto the Rishi, and thy choice and secret tell. Then a blush suffused her forehead, soft and slow her accents fell. Listen, father, Shalva's monarch was of old a king of might, righteous-hearted Dyumatsena, feeble now and void of sight. Foemen robbed him of his kingdom, when in age he lost his sight, and from town and spacious empire was the monarch forced to flight. With his queen and with his infant did the feeble monarch stray, and the jungle was his palace, darksome was his weary way. Holy vows assumed the monarch, and in penance passed his life. In the wild woods nursed his infant, and with wild fruits fed his wife. Years have gone in rigid penance, and that child is now a youth. Him I choose my lord and husband, Satyavan, the soul of truth. Thoughtful was the Rishi Narad, doleful were the words he said. Sad disaster waits Savitri, if this loyal youth she wed. Truth beloving is his father, truthful is his royal dame. Truth and virtue rule his actions, Satyavan his sacred name. Steeds he loved in days of boyhood, and to paint them was his joy. Hence they called him young Chitraswa, art-beloving gallant boy. But O pious-hearted monarch, fair Savitri had in sooth courted fate and sad disaster in that noble gallant youth. Tell me, questioned Ashwapati, for I may not guess thy thought, wherefore is my daughter's action with a sad disaster fraught? Is this the youth of noble lustre, gifted in gifts of art, blessed with wisdom and with prowess, patient in his dauntless heart? Surya's lustre in him shineth. So the Rishi Narad said, Brihaspati's wisdom dwelleth in the youthful prince's head. Like Mahendra in his prowess, and in patience like the earth, yet, O king, a sad disaster marks the gentle youth from birth. Tell me, Rishi, then thy reason. So the anxious monarch cried, Why to youth so great and gifted may his maid may not be allied? Is he princely in his bounty, gentle-hearted in his grace, duly versed in sacred knowledge, fair in mind and fair in face, free in gifts like Grantideva? So the holy Rishi said, versed in lore like monarch Siddhi, who all ancient monarchs led, like Yayati, open-hearted, and like Chandra in his grace, like the handsome heavenly Ashwins, fair and radiant in his face, meek and graced with patient virtue, he controls his noble mind, modest in his kindly actions, true to friends and ever kind. And the hermits of the forest praise him for his righteous truth. Nathless king, thy daughter may not wed his noble-hearted youth. Tell me, Rishi, said the monarch, for thy sins from me is hid. Has this prince some fatal blemish? Wherefore is his match forbid? Fatal fault, exclaimed the Rishi, fault that wiped all his grace, fault that human power nor effort, right nor penance can efface. Fatal fault or destined sorrow, for it is decreed on high, on this day, a 12th month later, this ill-fated prince will die. Shook the startled king in terror and in fear and trembling cried, unto short-lived, fated bridegroom, ne'er my child shall be allied. Come, Savitri, dear loved maiden, choose another happier lord. Rishi Narad speaketh wisdom, list unto his holy word. Every grace and every virtue is effaced by cruel fate. On this day, a 12-month later, leaves the prince his mortal state. Father, answered thus the maiden, soft and sad her accents fell. I have heard thy honored mandate, holy Narad counsels well. Pardon witless maiden's fancy, but beneath the eye of heaven, only once a maiden chosen, twice her troth may not be given. Long his life, or be it narrow, and his virtues greater none, Satyavan is still my husband. He my heart and troth hath won. What a maiden's heart hath chosen, that a maiden's lip confess. True to him, thy poor Savitri goes into the wilderness. Monarch, uttered the rishi, fixed is she in mind and heart. From the truth, the true Savitri never, never will depart. More than mortal's share of virtue unto Satyavan is given. Let the true maid wed her chosen, leave the rest to gracious heaven. Rishi and preceptor holy, so the weeping monarch prayed. Heaven avert all future evils, and thy mandate is obeyed. Narad wished him joy and gladness. Bless the loving youth and maid. Forest hermits on their wedding, every fervent blessing laid. Creditable and impressive as these couplets are, in them we also at once see the difficulty of the translator to render the magic anustubh of the Sanskrit with its quantitative basis of word music and rhythm into accented language, which is so alien to the expression and spirit of the ancient seers and rishis. Not only the substance and meaning, but also the measure and cadence of sound that is the soul of poetry defy translation from one medium into another. Romesh Dutt, in his respect, had succeeded in his endeavor in a way, and it is no mean achievement to maintain it on such a long sustained pitch and level. The song is vigorous and unstrained in its flow, with the natural ease of streaming gusto. However, perfect as the verses are, they seem to roll out like well-made Fiats of a modern factory, absolutely identical in shape and size and in performance, even their nose color and engine throb repeating flawlessly. The translation is, as Enid Hammer would say, spirited and musical, but the lines show the same tendency as Tennyson's to break after the fourth foot, and the whole technique is very similar to Locksley Hall. The couplet, with curdled 8-foot lines, can easily be broken up into an 8-7-8-7 syllabic stanza in trochaic meter with the following rhythm, as, for instance, in the last couplet of the above quoted passage. Narad wished him joy and gladness, blessed the loving youth and maid, forest hermits on their wedding, every fervent blessing laid. Sounds like a ballad run or a Marathi Lavani in its loud, hilarious question-answer session, a folk tale dealing through a social theme, matters pertaining to men and gods and nature. The composition is more lyrical than epic and, like happy flying birds, cannot, by that very lightness, accommodate thought in its substance and in its dignity for it to deepen and strengthen those very feelings of the song. The coming of the calamitous event is made known quite cheerfully and quite bardically. To adapt a couplet from the above quoted passage, we could say, Ho ho, it is decreed on high, so this ill-fated prince will die. Not only are the reserves of sound absent, but even the contents robbed of their high genuineness, of their high purity and poise. The dhwani, the inner music of the language which gives to verses their poetry and which holds poetry together, is no more to be heard in it. We have to only listen to Vyasa and understand and appreciate what solid dense force he has put in that death sentence. A whole world of meaning and mystery is packed in the 16-syllable announcement. Satyavan will in 1 year from today abandon his body, his life, here expended, samvatsarena shinayur deha yasam karishyati. The sentence is pronounced in this active voice and has a ring of authenticity, of a marvelous power that judges and governs our life's many wending ways, assuring that Satyavan has to die 1 year hence. It is brief and direct. There is no hue and cry, no sourness, no sentimentalism, no quarrel with anybody. Ramesh Dutt gives us not Vyasa's Savitri, but a Bengali Savitri. As Sri Aurobindo commented in a conversation, he portrayed her as weeping, whereas in the original epic there is no trace of tears, even when her heart was being sawn into two. Not a single tear came to her eyes. By making her weep, he took away the very strength on which Savitri was built. In this hand, English has, as if, become another Indian vernacular. The moral is, the 16-syllable Anustup cannot be converted into a trochaic 15er, howsoever close it may seem to the original. But more importantly, it is the spiritual inspiration that here matters the most. Not that all great Sanskrit poetry is so, nor do all spiritual compositions give us such poetry, but Valmiki and Vyasa are at first poets as much as they are, unlike Kalidas, Rishis, and the underlying aesthesis of their poetry is overhead.